Olá a todos, welcome to another Julia video. In today's video I will talk about BestieTemplate. So BestieTemplate is another Julia template. I have talked about pacakge templates in the past. Bestie is about 2.5 years old and I'm one of the developers creating it. It was created with the main objective of providing an easy way to get best practices in Julia for package development, and it can be applied to new and existing packages. I think that's one of the main features of Bestie is that you can take your package that you're already using right now, it's released, and you can run the apply command and get the same thing that you would get from a new package. Of course, it uses Git to do that, and you're gonna have some conflicts to solve because, of course, you're essentially applying a template on top of your package, but it's better than copy pasting manually from a different folder. And also another important thing is that it's possible to update. You just have a BestieTemplate update function that automatically runs the difference from the previous version of the template that you have, and the new version puts that on your package. So it's pretty cool. And that's what I'm trying to say. It's a pretty cool thing to do, and I want to quickly show it to you and hope that you enjoy it. So let's do it. Okay, so I'm in this new folder, a temporary folder that I've created, and I've cloned Jump into it. We're going to be using Jump as an example later. First thing, you have to install Bestie somewhere, so either install in a global environment or in a shared environment like I'm using here. Don't install Bestie on your package. I have already installed Bestie in this shared environment, so if you don't know, at the beginning of the name of the environment means it's a shared environment. It's a global environment in that sense. As you can see here in my status, I have Bestie installed, version 0.18.5. I'm going to use BestieTemplate. You saw many Python related things going on here because we are using copier in the backend, a Python package. Now that Bestie is loaded, we can say BestieTemplate.generate and then give the path. I'm going to create something called pacakge.jl. And what Bestie does via copier, so most of the heavy lifting is done via copier. What Bestie and copier do is provide you with this questionnaire that you fill up, and then you get a package in the end. There's also some introduction and the link to the full guide, which I recommend you follow. I'm going to upfront say the full guide includes information on how to get your documentation working, which involves a few steps that are not clear from just installing things. So follow those steps at least. But here you just have to follow questionnaire. So the name of the package is already inferred from my pacakge, right, that I wrote here on the top, and nothing was created yet. And then it tries to guess a few things or suggest a few things. So the UUID, now with the zoom. So the first thing being asked is the UUID, which is automatically generated. You can just press enter, your username or the organization. So this is relevant for some links. The author, which expects something like this. So the full name and then an email. And maybe you can add something like and contributors. The minimum Julia version, the license, so you have MIT and others, the copyright holders, which is just parsed from the authors, and finally you have the strategy level, which is essentially which questions are on by default. The tiny level means no to everything. This is a very bare bones package, still some stuff in there. You have the light selection, which is light in the sense that it's a light selection of best practices, so it's still a lot of stuff. It includes the documentation and the GitHub workflows, for instance, but you can have more in the moderate and robust selections, which include things for larger packages or when you have more contributors. I'm going to select the light selection. I have the option of saying yes here so that I can review my included items, and I'm gonna say no. And I have a chance to say yes here to review the excluded items, which I also will not. So I'm going to just press enter, and now I have a package. Zooming out, you can see that there is some indication that you should create the Git yourself. Maybe we should do that automatically for you. I don't know. Let me know. And finally here, I have a new package called mypacakge.jl, which has a lot of stuff. The stuff in here can change. So this is version 0.18.5. And if you look at the file .copier answers, you can see which answers you gave at this moment in time. So this is particularly useful when you update, when I, for instance, release the new version 0.19, and it's gonna have a different question out there where you can update and only provide the answers to the new questions or the different questions, and it's a much better system, right, in the end. It's easier than try to keep track yourself of what changed in the template. So we created mypacakge.jl, and there is another way to create packages as well, which is the BestieTemplate new package quick mode. And you have to give the same required answers in here. Everything that can be automated is automated, so all the default answers are selected, but you still need to give at least 4 things. One of them is the name of the package, so my quick pacakge.jl. Then you need to give you can use the tab to see the autocomplete, and you can see the name of the expected field. So package destination, package owner, the GitHub username, the authors, so Abel's, all my full name and email. And then finally the strategy, which is the last thing in this list that is required. And this is one of those 4 options that we saw before. So I can just say light again, and I'm gonna have a new package here. And there we have it, another package. So this interface is programmatic for you to do something with it. You still need to go through Copier to do this, so it still calls a Python package in there, but it's programmatic. Now we know how to create a new package. Let's think about applying Bestie to an existing package. So I'm gonna use the jump package as an example. So if you check the status, not in there. I am 1 folder up from jump, so I'm going to get in there. And I'm going to call BestieTemplate apply here. And I'm going to go to the same process as before. Some of the things are automatically inferred from the package. So the package name is jump, the UUID is blah, 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 the package owner and the Julia minimum versions. These things I believe came from the project Toml. It should be possible to implement more of them, but I haven't. Some of the things that are not possible, or maybe they should be possible, but they are not present. So in the case of jump, the authors are not defined. They are going to be asked here. So I could just give a fake value and delete that afterwards if I want, or I could make it official that this is jump contributors or something like that. License, it's not automatically available, but the version I do know is a MPL 2.0. The copyright holders, and again, which selection I want here. And I could just say the most robust selection, because it's going to be a lot of stuff. And just so we can see that. If you do select the robust, apparently you do have to answer a few other questions that are for some reason not automatically answered. That's a live bug to you there. Should I add pre-commit update periodic checks? No, and that's it. No matter, that's a small issue. We are now in the jump folder again here, and I'm going to change places. And you can see that there are many more things in here. If you check the status, there are indeed a lot of new stuff. Some of the files existing in jump were modified. For instance, the Julia formatter configuration has different default values. The dependabot is going to have different default values, and so on. And many files are new. You now have the chance to decide whether you want some of these or not. If you do want to be precise, the best way is to go in the option to review the answers, and you say, yes, I want to review everything. And then you can be precise saying what you want to generate. So I decided to not go into the details of what has been introduced because there are frankly too many things. please check the documentation and let me know if you see something that's out of place. As I mentioned, you can take a package that is already using BestieTemplate and update to use the latest version of BestieTemplate. So for instance, I'm going to clone BestieTemplate. So this is my copier answers file for Bestie, and you can see that I'm using version 0.18.2. I haven't updated in a while. So I'm gonna show how I usually do this. So I like to create a new branch for the version that I'm updating. So Bestie update. Then I will. So now you can see that I've moved to BestieTemplate. So again, what is the version that I have? 0.18.2. And what I do here is call BestieTemplate update from inside the project that I am. If I don't say anything, it's going to ask me the questions. It always asks the questions by default. And I could just press enter for everything, or I could just say update. Let me see if nothing got changed here. I could just say default equals true. Is it default? It's default. Yeah, it worked. I was a little bit and that's it. Defaults changed. Not a lot of things have changed since I answered, at least nothing in my strategy level, let's say. So the changes that I see are minimal. So this basic test is a placeholder file, so it's actually not empty, but doesn't have anything specific. It's just a bunch of snippets. The light sheet file changes and the copier answers are also small. So the copier answers is just the version because I have not changed any other answers. And the light sheet is also just the default value of light sheet. So I actually want to restore this change in light sheet because I don't want it. And I can delete this basic test. And that's it. This one I do want, which is update to BestieTemplate v0.18.5, because I have not answered any question as default. Of course, if I do follow the full procedure, I'm going to be asked all the questions. I forgot to say true before equals false. And now I have to remove this again. Of course, if I go through the process again, I can be asked all the questions, and then even the questions that are new, the new questions, the optional ones, they will have a default value. So those questions I will be asked and I can select something different. So let's say, for instance, that I decide to change explicit imports. I'm going to say no now, and then enter for the rest of this. You can see that my answers have changed here. And you can also see that my pre-commit configuration has changed. Let me see the diff of the pre-commit configuration. I don't have the explicit imports part anymore. And I have also a modification in my linked workflow, which is also just, I don't have explicit imports there. And some version changed in the past. That doesn't really matter a lot. Okay, so I'm back in the jump folder to showcase the last thing that I want, which is the new feature from version 0.18.5. I'm going to reset everything in the jump folder. So if you check the status again, it's clean. And what I want to show is the function add feature. And the function add feature accepts one symbol. You can check the list in the help. And this symbol is a feature that you want to include in your package. So I like this new thing a lot for two reasons. One, if you don't want to go over the whole list just to make one modification, you can use BestieTemplate.add feature, and then you just change that one thing, and that's included in your package. So for instance, jump doesn't have a pre-commit, right? Yeah, it doesn't have a pre-commit, so I could just say pre-commit here. And the second thing is that even if I don't use copier, which jump doesn't, I still get to use the new feature. So that's a pretty cool thing. So if you check its status again, you can see that now I have in this jump folder the pre-commit config file, which is the main file that I want, and some additional files that I recommend having if you're using pre-commit, which are the configuration of the tools that pre-commit uses. So this new BestieTemplate.add feature has a few features already implemented. So if you check the list here, you can see that the test item CLI, which is something that I'm gonna talk about in a different video, is available pre-commit with and without the configuration files. The linked action and the dependabot, they are already available. I essentially just selected a few that I thought would be like, okay, people sometimes don't have these things, but also that I could test my package, right? Should be easy to add more. So if you're thinking like, oh, it will be nice to have this single feature easily available, let me know, create an issue, and I might try to create one for the next version of BestieTemplate. So yeah, that's it. That's BestieTemplate for you. I hope you enjoyed it. I do think it provides some nice features, and in particular, I'm interested about your opinion about this new add feature function. If you use it, if you don't use it, if you think it's not really useful at all, or if you think it's missing something, leave in the comment, or even better, leave it in the GitHub issues for me to know more about them, okay? Like and subscribe, that helps a lot, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.